It is Thursday, March 6th, 2025. This is another off-season edition of Baseball Today. That is my man, Trevor Plouffe. I am Chris Rose, producer Dan, intern Sawyer along for the ride as well. No exquisite trips or anything that you've gone on the last few days that I need to know about where you're going to squeeze all your vacations in before the season starts?
No, just to the gym. Trips to the gym. See you,
Oh,
Rose. And
way.
nice and jacked up for the summer, baby, and for baseball season. I'm at home right now. It's actually really nice. Got a lot of youth baseball going on.
Good.
I've been able to watch some of these spring training games, which is nice. I think we're going to get into one of them that I was watching when I was riding the bike at the gym yesterday. How about that? How are you doing?
We will be getting it. I'm doing great, man. Great. All is well. You know, we're just a couple of weeks away. I guess 3 weeks away from today is opening day in the States. We will have a series over in Japan between the Cubs and the Dodgers. And that actually deserves a little tip of the cap off the top because the animated series Demon Slayer and Major League Baseball, they did this little mashup. Now, if you're audio only, get to our YouTube, John Boy Media Baseball channel and check it out. It's great. It is so well done. And I had to text Brady about it because he is a huge anime guy. Loves it. Loves the Japanese culture. Went over, played a little baseball there a couple of years ago. I said, how big a deal is this? He's like, this crossover is enormous. So good for baseball.
No, I love it. I think I just missed like the anime craze with my age, but Teddy's super into it, like with One Piece, and I'm sure he knows this as well. So I enjoyed it thoroughly, and I need to get over to Japan. I keep saying that, talking about going to Japan for years, and then the opportunity presents itself. Dodgers Cubs opening the baseball season up there, and how are we not there, Chris? That's what I want to know.
Well, we're gonna have to talk to John Boy Media about that. I think we should
Sheesh.
be there. I'm sure that they could whip up a travel program over the next couple of weeks. There's a reason I'm working cap today. They're going to hit leadoff in our show today, and it's not for all the right reasons. Justin Turner, he's found a new home this spring with the Chicago Cubs. Didn't stop him from wondering what's going on at his most recent stop, which was Seattle. Traded from Toronto to Seattle last year, mid-season. He told Bob Nightingale of USA Today, quote, the fact they missed the playoffs by just one game and didn't go out and add an impact bat or two when you have the best pitching staff in baseball just seems absurd to me. Turner continued, honestly, as much as I wanted to be back there, if I was the only piece they brought back in, I'd be saying the same thing. What the hell are we doing? Are you trying? He finished up by saying there's not going to be a better go for it. So I don't know what they're doing. I'm very confused. It's a head scratcher for me. Is that a fair assessment from the one-time Mariner?
I think it is. I think, well, he was there, obviously, in the clubhouse, and this is not just something that Justin Turner has said. If you remember, Cal Raleigh came out after the 23 season, like literally right after the game, was saying we need to go get impact bats, impact starting pitchers. He just basically called the organization out, from the dugout, I believe it was. It's something that we've talked about for a long time, but actually I've started to really think about the park factor. We brought it up, and it's more extreme on the pitcher side than Coors is on the hitter side, which is pretty intense. We always talk about Coors, and oh my gosh, it's crazy. But Seattle over the last 3 years has been a worse hitter's park than Coors has been a good hitter's park. Crazy to think. So I don't think it's just as easy as saying let's bring over a guy that's a good hitter anywhere else. Like you have to have someone that can hit, at that park specifically. And then, so like that's a challenge in itself. JT actually did a pretty good job over there, and they offered him a deal to go back, but I had like he wanted more over there. They offered Carlos Santana, I believe, a 2-year deal. He ended up going back to the Guardians. So I think there's layers to this. It's not just black and white. You can offer players. They have to come want to play there. And what hitter would want to go there? That's kind of like what I'm thinking. Like if you're there, that's a free agent, unless they offered you just way more money, And even then, if you're Justin Turner, it's like, man, I don't know. Like, the couple things have to go right for me to want to go back there. So I think it's not just as easy as saying, yeah, let's bring these guys back. Hitters have to want to go there. And I think it's not necessarily like Jerry DiPoto's fault. Like, he has to have the money to spend. It's not his money. Like, he has to get an okay from the ownership. So this thing has many, many layers to it. I think we've all talked about that. Hey, Seattle, you have this pitching staff that's incredible. How have you not supplemented it with more bats? But the more and more I think about it, Chris, I just don't think it's that easy. Again, I don't think guys want to go there. They understand the park factor. And you're not getting the money from ownership. So I guess if I had one solution, it'd be like, yeah, hey, open the pockets up and you're going to have to overpay. But then also the department is going to have to go and say, what works well at our stadium and who are the guys that can help us? And maybe it's a massive overhaul and you can say, hey, if you're on the Mariners, you got to play the game differently. We got to move runners. We got to steal bases. We got to play small ball. We have to try to not strike out. You're not going to slug there. Like, you have to think about scoring runs differently. And they really, I guess, haven't done that. Last year, Chris, and I'll end on this. Last year, they were, I believe, 12th in baseball in OPS plus, which is like, hey, that's not that bad. But in categories like runs, they're 21st or 22nd. In OPS, they're 25th. Like, it doesn't really add up. So I don't think this is as easy as everyone kind of thinks is just go get players over there. I think we really have to start thinking about what the heck is going on with that park.
Yeah. The one thing you said that was interesting is that Jerry DiPoto isn't necessarily to blame. And Turner made that very, very clear in the column. He said, I don't think it's Jerry's fault. I like Jerry a lot. So he was pointing the finger at the moneymakers, here. And listen, facts are facts. They have won 2 playoff games since the 2001 season. 2. They've only been to the playoffs as a franchise 5 times. So I don't think that it's fair to say to Mariners fans, well, your ballpark sucks for hitting. Like, that can't be the answer. I'm sorry. I mean, if you want to, try and move the walls in. I don't give a shit. Go reconfigure your stadium if you want to. It's a beautiful place to play as long as the weather's decent up there in Seattle. It's one of my favorite ballparks. But facts are facts, man. Their offense just stinks. Last year, they were averaging less than 4 runs per game for the first 4.5 months. And then when Dan Wilson came in and they started adopting a little bit of a different philosophy, they started to break out. And they had some really good numbers, OPS-wise, batting average-wise, and they hope that that'll carry through with their new hitting coach and Edgar Martinez as a hitting consultant. You could do worse than having Edgar Martinez as your hitting consultant, by the way. But, yeah, it's just – there were guys that went on the record. There were guys that didn't want to be named that, yeah, it kind of sucks that we aren't trying to build around this pitching staff, because if they get to the playoffs, I ain't going to pick against them with that staff.
Well, I mean, we saw, what was it, them in Houston battle it out when Jordan just kind of went crazy there. Yeah, it's interesting because I believe it was Luke Raley came out and said if we had JT for a full year last year, we would have made the playoffs. Mm-hmm. And if you're Jerry DiPoto and you hear that, and obviously he's not a dumb guy. He understands the value that a guy like Justin Turner brings. I mean, maybe it's as simple as that. You just make an offer that Justin can't refuse. And then because he's there, maybe he recruits some other guys. Something has to happen. I agree with you. I'm not saying like Seattle Mariners can't do anything. It's just the park. I'm just saying, like, I think it's more layered than, hey, we haven't been able to get guys. The money thing is huge. You got to be able to spend money to bring players in. Again, especially at a park like Seattle's has, you have to probably overpay to bring free agent hitters in there. And then I like what you said about the new hitting, regime. They just have to figure out a different style of baseball or a different approach to suit their park, because you can't waste what they have with this pitching.
That's what it feels like is happening.
But also, Chris, how good is this pitching really? I've started thinking about that a lot too. I mean, they're pitching at the best park to pitch at.
Well, right, and that is hard. If you look at the numbers that Bob Nightingale pointed out in his column, that 5 of Gilbert, Kirby, Castillo, Miller, and Wu started 149 games last year, set a franchise record in ERA. Rotation also led baseball in lowest opponent's batting average, on base, OPS, fewest hits per nine, whip, strikeouts to walk, and quality starts. I don't know if that's all the ballpark, but sure. I mean, it's part of it.
Is that at home, or are you talking about
No.
because the home road splits? I haven't looked at every single pitcher. I think we just did. I forget who we looked at on Talking Baseball the other day, but there was some home road splits for these pitchers as well, man.
Yeah, I get it. All right, let's move on. Speaking of great pitchers, I have a feeling this guy's going to have a great year no matter what ballpark he's thrown in. Garrett Crochet's spring training, it continued 7 more on Wednesday, giving him 14 in 6 1/3 scoreless so far this spring. Do you think this is Chris Sale part 2, or is that a little too rich this early?
I believe it's a little too rich this early. I'll tell you what, you're facing a guy like Garrett Crochet early on in spring training can happen to you. Like this heavy velo that early with like kind of the funk that he has too. That's like a nightmare at bat. So I it's not like he should be striking guys out the way he's striking guys out. But the reason I say it's not Chris Sale just yet. Chris Sale had what 5 years, like 5 dominant years with the White Sox before he came over to the Red Sox. Crochet just became a starter last year, and like, do I think he's going to be a great pitcher in Boston? Yes. I think it's just a stretch to say Chris Sale right now, who's like probably a Hall of Famer and has just put up year after year after year. He's got 14 years in the league already. The brakes on the Chris Sale comparisons, although obviously it's pretty apparent why people would make those comparisons. Tall, lefty, throws hard, from Chicago, goes to Boston. I understand the comparison. I'm just saying Chris Sale had some more accolades, a little bit more success under his belt before he went to Boston. I want to see him do it for a couple of years. I believe he can. I'm actually a huge Garrett Crochet fan. I think he's going to be great. But I would just say not Chris Sale, not just yet.
Let me fill in some of the numbers for you. Garrett Crochet, when he got traded this offseason, had 32 career starts, all of them last year. He has 9 wins. He has 9 wins in his career. I know that wins is not the stat that it once was back in the 80s and 90s, but Chris Sale had 148 starts and 74 wins when he got traded from the South Side to Fenway Park. He also had 5 straight top 6 Cy Young finishes. Garrett Crochet is awesome. He is fun to watch. Until last year when they started telling him about his trade possibilities, I had no idea who he was bald. So that was a big moment for me. That was a big moment for me in 2024.
That was a big moment for you?
It was. Don't you remember? It was right before the All-Star game, and they started asking him about the trade possibilities, and he was standing at his locker, and he had no hat on. By the way, Major League players should be forced to wear a hat and probably the nameplate on whatever shirt they're wearing outside of baseball, because I can't ever tell what you guys look like. We were at the CAA house. We're going to have some great content rolling from there. I was like, who are some of these guys? It's very tough to tell.
That's insane.
No. I think it should be mandated. It should be part of your
I feel like
job.
baseball players, you can see their faces the entire game. What do you mean?
Yeah, but the minute you hat off of somebody, they look entirely different. Entirely different. You don't think so? I don't think most people would recognize a player. Now put that back on. Hey, didn't you hit 106 homers in the show?
There I am.
Yeah. Right? People
Shaved
know
my
what
beard
I'm
last
talking
night.
about. Yeah, you did. It kind of freaks me out. You need stubble at least.
I have a little stubble.
More than that.
Whatever.
I too believe that Garrett Crochet is going to be awesome. In fact, I'm toying with the idea of making him my Cy Young Award winner this year. It's really tough to win that thing up at Fenway, although Pedro has done it, and Roger Clemens did it, and other people have done it. Yes, go ahead.
Sorry, I want to go back to the last question because I knew we looked these up. But last year, Logan Gilbert at home, 16 starts, away 17 starts. At home, he had a 2.49 ERA. On the road, he had a 3.94.
Okay.
were a 10.2 at home. Away, they were an 8.8. Like, we're talking, those are drastically different numbers.
Okay, but that happens for a lot of hitters too. I mean, your home road split.
I'm just saying, dude. Like, I think we do need to figure this park out. It's been driving me nuts. I'm even going backwards on our show because I've been thinking about it so much. I really have, dude. It's bothering me a lot.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Can we finish up Crochet with this?
Yes.
Does he finish top 5 Cy Young this year?
Ooh, in the AL. Let me think about who's in the AL. Scooble's probably going to win it again, isn't he?
Yes. There's no more Corbin Burns in the AL.
Corbin Burns. So
but there is Max Fried.
We got Garrett Cole. We got Max Fried.
Yeah, I mean, there aren't a ton of...
Yeah, I'm trying to, think about who's the guys here.
Not guys, right? We're going to talk about Baltimore in a second.
Is Framber going to be a guy again in Houston?
Maybe.
Probably. We got a bunch of dudes out in Seattle. I was just talking crap about them. I'll say no, not top 5.
Do you trust Jacob deGrom to get back into that area? Hard to.
I would love for him to pitch enough innings to be in consideration for that, but I don't trust it.
Right? Like, there's nobody in Cleveland that would fit that bill.
There's got to be a reliever that's going to get it. I feel like relievers are on their way up, dude.
Well, your guy Lopez.
I think the Twins have a bunch of guys that can finish top 20.
Well, today's episode is sponsored by Best Western Hotel and Resorts. Life's a trip, so why not make the most of it? With over 4,000 hotels worldwide, Best Western is there for every detour, destination, unexpected turn along the way. And whether you're hitting the road, traveling for work, or chasing the next big game, there's a room waiting for you. But a great stay isn't just about rest. It's about what comes next, because travel isn't always predictable, but that's what makes it great. Best Western is there for every wrong turn that leads to a right story, every unplanned turn that becomes a highlight, every moment that makes a lasting memory. So stay out a little later, take the scenic route, make the most of the ride, get ready to get going on your next adventure. It's waiting for you at Best Western. Life's a trip. Make the most of it at bestwestern.com. All right, we continue on. I just mentioned the Baltimore Orioles. Welcome back. Felix Bautista struck out 2 of the 3 men that he faced in his first game back from Tommy John surgery, covering 556 days. Now, we have talked a lot about the Yankees. We've talked a lot about Boston's offseason moves. We've even talked a lot about Toronto and the things that they have and in some cases haven't done this offseason. Is Baltimore, in your opinion, still ascending or perhaps going the wrong direction in this division?
I think I'm going to go neither. I think they're level. I don't think it's fair to say they're descending. I don't really think they're on the up and up. They're going to have some guys take massive steps forward to be on the up and up, which is fine. Maybe that happens for them. But my answer as of today, March 6th of 2025, I think they're level, and I think that's okay. I do believe they're going to compete for the AL East title. I think they're going to be in that race. I think that they have a very good chance to make the playoffs, but without massive steps forward from Jackson Holiday or some of the guys on that pitching staff. I think that we're going to be right around the same. They're already dealing with some injuries, like Gunnar has an intercostal. They say he's going to be ready for opening day, but that thing can linger. If something like that happens to Gunnar Henderson, who put up a 9.1 B-WAR last year, I don't think people understand how good he was. He was close to Bobby Witt in B-WAR last year. Okay, and we talk about Bobby Witt all the time. If he goes out, it's a drastically different team. So I don't know if the depth is there for me to say they're going this way. They also who else had it? Jordan Westberg said his mattress was too soft. We all know what he was doing on that mattress to have back spasms.
Hey, now.
Come on. We know Jordan.
Hey,
we're all adults here.
Hey. Would you rather have him?
No, but I mean, look, I like this Orioles team.
Hold on.
What?
Would you rather have him come out and explain how he injured himself?
Yeah.
Hey, now.
Detail by detail, baby. Yeah, so I think they're going to be competitive in the AL East. I understand that the teams around them have gotten better. So, yeah, I'll say they're kind of like standing pat. That's my answer here, Chris.
Well, what they're waiting for is guys to continue to grow up.
Yeah.
And, we've seen it. Gunnar Henderson had a glow up. Who's the next guy to do it, right? Is it Kjerstad? Can Colton Cowser continue to raise his game? He was a top 3. He was a Rookie of the Year candidate a year ago. What are we going to get out of Jackson Holiday? Jordan Westberg is a good player. Can he stay healthy and do his whole thing? They're relying on a lot of youngsters. Grayson Rodriguez is a guy that we have kind of waited for the last few years to be a dude that can get to the top of the rotation. I did like the pickup of Charlie Morton. I know he's 67 years old, but I still think that he's got something here. The thing is, I think the thing that's disappointing is that, yes, they went out and they got Tyler O'Neill, who came off a really nice power season in Boston. Gary Sanchez, we know that he can run into a few here and there. They added Morton. Kittredge, I thought, was a really nice pickup. He's a guy that kind of flies below the radar in the bullpen and can do a nice job. But they didn't make the wow moment. And when you have to compete with the Yankees in the East and you want to be one of the top-tier teams in the American League, we're waiting for that wow offseason move, and we just didn't get it, which means it puts additional pressure on a bunch of guys who have been, in some cases, good. Like Adley Rutschman didn't have a great year last year. He just didn't. In fact, they only return one guy in their lineup who had higher than an 800 OPS, and that's Gunnar, right? Anthony Santander bolted for the dough up there in Toronto. Everybody else that came back to Baltimore that was on the O's last year had a below 800 OPS. So guys need to grow up.
Yeah, and it's like you said before, everyone around them has just gotten better. I think the Rays are going to be better this year. McClanahan's back. I think the Red Sox obviously made some moves. They're going to be better this year. I think the Blue Jays made some moves. They're going to be better this year. The Yankees, we'll see. I think the Yankees also are probably, about the same as last year. So Soto out, some pieces in. Maybe you can argue they're a better overall team. They're going to focus on some different things, but I don't think I can say that about the Orioles. I don't think they got better this offseason necessarily with the parts in, parts out.
Right. The way they get better is by growing up together.
Yes.
And they've been so hesitant to trade any of those guys for the most part. They had one trade with Baltimore for with Milwaukee for Corbin Burns. Other than that, I've been begging them to do some stuff. Send some of those prospects on their way. Let them grow up somewhere else, and you get an established player. Maybe this is the year that happens. Yes, go ahead, caller.
I'm back on the Seattle Mariners pitching. I'm sorry, dude. It really has been bothering me. Okay, I went to they only had 6 or 7 guys make starts for them last year. I believe it's the answer is 6 to that, right? All these guys were healthy. I went to every single starting pitcher: Castillo, Miller, Wu, Gilbert, Kirby. Every single guy on the road had a worse ERA, which whatever. You don't have to go by ERA. The thing to me was the strikeouts per 9. I'm on Bryce Miller's page. He struck out 10.4 guys per 9 at home, 6.4 on the road. Every single guy had about a 1 to 2 less strikeouts on the road per 9. That it is. We got to start talking about this more, I think. Like, is their pitching staff that good?
You've talked about it 3 times today, so you are doing.
That's all I'm saying. I respect all you guys. I'm just curious. I'm not trying to take shots. It's mind-blowing to me.
Wow, you should argue arbitration cases on behalf of the Seattle Mariners.
On the team.
I mean, Jesus.
I don't want to bring anybody down. I'm not like that. It's just, man, my head is spinning right now.
Okay. Let's get you down to the state of Florida for a little Grapefruit League action. So the Tigers and Phillies, they were on the ESPN broadcast, and Phillies skipper Rob Thompson was nice enough to throw on a headset while Jesus Luzardo was on the mound. I'm going to guess it is the last time he ever puts a headset on because the Tigers went nuts.
2-1 on the way to Jones. Swing and a drive. Deep drive. Sosa goes back. It is way out of here.
Looking good against the lefties.
He sure did. Andy Ibanez sends Sosa back. He's out of room. Back-to-back shots. What goes on in the spring training game as Torres swings at the first one. He sends it to left field. Sosa is not going to get it. Back-to-back-to-back.
It wasn't just back-to-back-to-back. It was back-to-back-to-back pitches. So they go grand slam, solo. So 6 runs in 3 pitches. Poor Topper had to sit there. It didn't say a damn thing until Carl Ravitch asked him, So what are you seeing from Luzardo? What's going on here? I had to laugh, man.
It was so good. I was at the gym, my bad, sitting on the bike, getting my body warm. I was watching this game live, right? I'm watching Luzardo pitch. I'm like, okay, like looks pretty good. You might get out of this jam, right? Because I believe it was 2 outs as well. It was bases loaded, 2 outs, 2-1 changeup to Jones, and he just missed his spot. That was dead over the plate. Boom, homer. Iglesias comes up, gets a hanging slider. Hits it out. The wind will blow there a little bit, whatever. But hanging slider. And then Glaber comes up. And I knew, because Glaber's, he's a veteran. He's like, that's 2 off-speed pitches in a row that just got taken up top. Glaber is sitting dead red heater. And he was going to swing almost no matter what. And sure as hell, gets the fastball and turns on it. And yeah, Carl's like, what do you see? And Topper, what he really wanted to say was, who gives a shit? It's spring training. Like, we're not worried about it. But he's like, oh, I'm going to have to go look at the video. I have to see where those pitches were. He could also said, yeah, those are just 3 horrible pitches right down the middle. But it was his facial expressions during that were so hilarious. Funny. Like, it's so good.
It's one of those where you wish that like Terry Francona was on the mic, right? Because he totally would have been like, all right, boys, fuck it. I ain't coming on with you ever again.
Yeah.
Like it would have been one of those. That's what I was waiting for, but instead he just sat there and arms.
He's like, I'm already in Lakeland, Florida. No offense to Lakeland, but it's like, I don't know. When I went there, it wasn't that great.
Really?
He's like, I just want to go home.
Weren't partying in Lakeland? Weren't
no, there's not a lot of partying. And not that I remember. Okay, it was a long time ago. Maybe it's changed. Florida changes a lot. Okay.
All right. Bigger question I wanted to ask is the Tigers, are they the favorite in the Central, in your opinion?
No, they're not the favorite. I don't honestly, Chris, you could ask me if the Guardians are the favorite, the Twins are the favorite, the Royals are the favorite, and I would say no to all of them. I don't think there is a favorite. I truly do not believe there's somebody that you can say is better than any of those other teams. I don't. Like the only thing you can definitively say about the AL Central is that the White Sox are not the favorite. That's it. Do you agree? Like, do you have a favorite picked out?
No,
there?
I think there are 3 teams ahead of the Twins, though.
I don't believe that. And I'm not just being biased. I truly do not believe
I don't think it's significant, but I think it's by like a quarter to a half.
I think the Twins have a more complete roster than any of the other teams. Other teams might do things better separately, but I think the Twins overall have a more complete roster.
I don't know about that. I would make the Tigers the slight favorite. I thought them bringing Flaherty back was huge. I thought that
they needed that.
Yep, they needed that. I think their lineup is okay. It's not great. Like if I were to rank the teams, if you were to take the best units from each team, meaning lineup, starting pitching, bullpen, I think the clear best group out of all of those is Cleveland's bullpen. Then I would say it's Kansas City's starting pitching. I think they have the depth, but I think the Tigers aren't that far away. And then I think that lineup-wise, I'm a little worried about the Tigers' outfield to start the year.
The Twins lineup is better than any of those lineups.
It's not by a lot. It really isn't. It is not.
It is. It's a deep lineup.
Deep what?
Like 1 through 9, they are better than those other teams. That's fine. I agree with you. I don't think their starting pitching is the best, although I think their starting pitching is severely underrated. Like go kind of look at the numbers. They have guys, especially a few steps forward from a guy like Festa, who looked really good last year. I think it's gonna be good. I will agree with you. I think Kansas City, like on paper, what they did last year, got to give it to them. I don't think the Twins bullpen is as deep as the Guardians, and maybe not as deep as the Detroit's. But I also think if you're going like top end, 8-9, I think the Twins are right up there as well. Griffin Jackson and Duran and Brock Stewart back. I'm really not trying to be a homer. I'm just saying we've done TVPs for all these teams, and they're all just right there, and they do things differently.
Right, because nobody took an enormous step forward. I think if Alex Bregman had signed with Detroit, then we would all tip it toward Motown. But he didn't. So I think it could be a fun 3 to 4 team race this year. It'll cause me a lot of angst. I can tell you that as a Cleveland fan. I can tell you that. Thank you. All right. Finding it difficult to find time for a complete balanced meal? That is where today's sponsor, Huel, spelled Huel, comes in handy. Huel is a global complete nutrition brand with over 500 million meals sold. Their Black Edition ready to drink it is a complete meal in a bottle, 35 grams of protein, 27 vitamins and minerals, and it is low in sugar, all in one handy dandy bottle. Now, for me, mornings are chaos, right? I'm out the door in minutes, don't have time to whip up a balanced meal, right? Done here. I got a lot of stuff to do. That's where Huel Black Edition comes up clutch. Keeps me full, keeps me energized, focused, so I can tackle whatever the day throws at me. So join the community of Hueligans with this exclusive offer for new customers. It is 15% off plus a free gift with the code TODAY at Huel.com. Once again, that is 15% plus a free gift for new customers with the code TODAY at Huel.com. Unlock a healthier, easier way to eat with Huel. Nutritionally complete meals in minutes so you can focus on what really matters. See the description for terms and conditions. All right, a pair of former Mets named Jose found new homes in the National League. Jose Quintana, one-year deal with the Milwaukee Brewers. Jose Iglesias inked a minor league deal with the San Diego Padres. Which of those is more interesting for you?
I love the Jose Quintana deal to the Brewers. I think it just adds more like veteran depth to that rotation. I think the Brewers are very savvy in the moves. And what was the deal here? Wasn't it 1 year, like 4?
4.5, maybe something like that.
That is an absolute steal for this
Steal.
guy. Look at those numbers last year. Like
Yeah.
that is a back like a number 4 guy that you can count on to give you innings, keep you in ball games, and you're getting him for 1 year, 4.5. That's insane. I love that deal. More interesting one to me is Jose Iglesias to the Padres, just because I feel like they need. I think Profar for them last year was kind of like a big part of that dynamic that they had and like the energy that he brought. And I think if Jose Iglesias has anything left after a world tour and everything he gave to the Mets last year, I think he's a really, really good fit for that clubhouse. And I think that he can be that type of spark plug for that team. Also, who's going to play shortstop? Like we're still kind of figuring that out, right? I don't think it's going to be him, but maybe.
Well, we know who should play shortstop.
Yes.
Right? I mean, he's the best shortstop on their team. Every year, it feels like they've got 3 shortstops that are better than who's going to end up playing shortstop. And I mean, Xander Bogaerts is fine. He's a great dude. He is a great dude. And when he's right, he is a phenomenal hitter. Here's what I would do.
Okay, tell me. I'm curious.
I would put Iglesias at short. I'd put Cronenworth at second. I'd put Bogaerts at first.
Is that going to happen?
No, but that's what if I were a Padres fan, I think that's what I would most like to have happen.
Okay.
Does it sound insane?
I don't think it sounds insane. I guess I'm trying to remember Jose Iglesias in the field last year. I feel like all I ever saw him do was hit freaking lasers down the right field line.
Yeah, he did.
But no, I if you're going for best defensive lineup, then I think that's probably right.
Mm-hmm. Hey, by the way, you're right. Good for the Brewers, man, to go get Quintana. I think the thing that maybe scared people off, I think it's fair, is the strikeout numbers are horrific for a starting pitcher, right? It's 7 Ks per 9. He hasn't cracked 140 strikeouts in a year since 2019, I believe. So maybe that's people's hesitancy.
Yeah, but the Brewers play great defense.
Yes,
so
they
why
do.
Do they care?
And so exactly, he has to fit your team. He doesn't have to fit all 30 teams. He just has to fit your team. So I'm just explaining the hesitancy. I don't get it. I would have loved it if my team had signed him. I'm sure there's a lot of fans out there who are like, Jesus, give me a guy who makes 30 starts every year and can work into the 6th inning, and I'm great with it. Awesome. Let's do that. Sign me up. I don't know.
There's a lot of teams. You know who could have used this? Like the Baltimore Orioles could have used him.
Right. Perfect.
The Detroit Tigers could have used him.
Particularly for this price tag.
It's crazy.
It's all said and done. I mean, Frankie Montas. I keep using Frankie Montas as my verbal punching bag on this show, but I have to because the guy had an ERA close to 5 last year between 2 stops. Okay, I get it. They're hitter-friendly parks, but still, ERA is ERA there, whatever. We can adjust it. I get that, but still, if he $17 million for him and Jose Quintana gets less than 5, What are we doing, people?
Dude, put Jose Quintana in Seattle. He's a Cy Young guy.
I do want to ask one other
thing.
That's
the last one. That was it. That was the last one.
Jose Iglesias was a 3-WAR player, had a great year at the dish, could still pick it in the field, but he will best be remembered for this. Still catchy after all these months.
It's freaking incredible, dude.
Yeah.
This is what we're looking at is insane.
It is insane.
I don't think people are like giving it enough credit. That's a player, a current player, in a post-game conference with all the guys still in their uniforms in New York. Like, this is insane.
Okay, so I guess the bigger question is, does he have to retire this? I think he just came out with another big song, didn't he? So can he take this to the West Coast, or does that have to stay in?
Oh my gosh, if he comes over and like him and Kendrick Lamar have a freaking, I'll set it up.
Oh boy.
I'm looking at the San Diego Padres lineup now. Machado's going to play third base. I know he DH'd a lot last year.
Yeah, I think he will.
Okay.
Well, you didn't answer me about can he take this act to the West Coast?
Of course he can. People in San Diego will fucking love this guy, dude.
By the way, it is one of the great atmospheres we've got.
I love Petco.
Baseball. And can you imagine with the lights strobing after a Padres win? And
they already have a stage set up in the back of right field in a massive like area for concerts. Like he might do a show every night. He might have a residency in San Diego. It's insane.
Forget about Vegas.
Just no. I'm at Petco every night. Come check me out. Like, dude.
He's got to play for the Athletics when they get to Las Vegas, just so that he can have residency there. That'd be nice. All right, before we get out of here, we saw this on our John Boy Media's social media channels. Let's just play it, Tommy Pham.
It's tough.
Yeah, going at it with the Yankee fans. You got a little pecker, too. Oh, boy. And then somebody said, there was a lady there that said, don't, go back and forth with him. Just let it be. Should he just let it be, or do you like it when Tommy Pham talks shit?
I think it just depends on what was said to him. Like, my overall thought process when I was playing the outfield was like, don't engage. But I was also terrified out there. I was just trying to focus as much as I can. This is a guy who's had plenty of experience out there. It's a spring training game. He doesn't necessarily have to focus that much. So if someone chirped to him, I'm gonna have no problem with him chirping back. Like, I think fans actually like that. So it's not like you're making someone upset. They're probably going to go home to the bars or tell their buddies, like, oh, man, Tommy Pham said I had a little dick, and it's going to be a great story for this guy. So I don't know. I think it's fine. Especially it's Tommy Pham, dude. You think I'm going to tell Tommy Pham what to do? I'm not.
I mean, he's top 5 in Major League Baseball history. Guys most likely to jump the fence and head into the stands to go settle something.
Yeah. I would like that's a good list. Who's number 1?
All time? Hey.
John Rocker?
Out of the bullpen? Okay. Sure. Like Papelbon had a little bit of a screw loose. Yeah, you got to get guys that are already built into the outfield.
Yeah.
Well, we had the Yankees Red Sox stuff out there in Fenway, 25 years ago. That was
Alfredo Aceves is a guy that comes to my mind for me.
There was a great one, Dodgers, Cubs. Dodgers bullpen, I think it was Chad Kruger was the catcher. He wrapping like hands around each other's throats. Go look up that one on YouTube. That's a good one.
I have heard stories, so many stories about like things that used to happen at baseball fields that just don't happen anymore that I can't talk about because I feel like they're inappropriate. But man, the game has changed.
Albert Bell.
Albert Bell's a good one.
Albert Bell took a baseball. He was being heckled all game at home in Cleveland. Took a ball, threw it, and hit a guy right in the chest. Didn't lob it. Albert turned.
Good arm.
Zoom, lasered it right at the dude in the chest. I had Albert on the Rose rotation, and he has calmed down. He's got 3 wonderful daughters, and he has taken
like
a deep
that.
breath. But, man, back in the day, there were some good Albert Bell stories. Good ones. And by the way, I still text with him.
I love that for you. Do you and Kenny Lofton still text?
I will. I've hung out with Kenny twice in like a week this year. It was
Love
fun.
that.
Yeah, good
Love
guy.
that.
All right. We are back at it again next week as we inch closer to the Japan series and then opening day, which is 3 weeks from today in the state. Cannot wait. For our one-of-a-kind producer, Dan Rourke, our amazing intern, Sawyer, the uber-talented Trevor Plouffe, I am Chris Rose. We will see you next week here on Baseball Today.